Welcome to this episode number 2 about holiday inclusion. We're going to circle back to Shirley's story. I shared with you who Shirley was last year, how she was the hostess with the mostest, but how a stroke and subsequent aphasia and difficulty with her mobility, a difficulty moving around, impacted her ability to be a part of the celebrations last year. She felt like an outsider. But great news, she has made tremendous progress. We're going to get into Shirley's episode in just a moment.
Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
I'm so excited to share with you an updated Shirley story. So, Shirley last year was struggling during the holidays. She spent a lot of time in her wheelchair and she felt lonely even when she was surrounded by family and friends. She felt like an observer more than a participant. But this year, it feels different. There's a shift. You can feel it. Shirley has made some real progress over the last year. Now she can transfer into different chairs in the house, which might not sound like a big deal, but for Shirley, it makes her feel more like she's at home, like she's in her own space again, not in a medical setting, looking at that wheelchair all the time. It's these small wins that make a big difference. The Christmas tree is back in its usual spot. The branches are bare and waiting to be decorated. But unlike last year when Shirley just watched from her chair, this time she's ready to jump in. She's not just there to see the decorations go up. She's there to help make it happen. And that's because she's been working hard on her speech. And with lots of practice, she's been able to say many more words, use new phrases at the times when it counts. When the grandkids arrive, she's able to greet them with a big smile, say their name. Sounds really simple, right? But it's these moments that are huge for her. Each greeting, every time she says one of their names, it's a little victory and a chance to reconnect with the family she loves. But this didn't happen by accident. Shirley and her husband Peter have been planning this holiday for weeks. They wanted to make sure that despite their old traditions, they wanted to find a new way. Not that they're giving up on the old ways, but they needed to find this transition, a compromise between what they used to do and what they can do successfully now. So, she'd like to plan and do all of the meal. That was like, if you think of it like her love language, she loved preparing the meal. So this time, instead of Peter trying to do it all on his own like he did last year, this time she and Peter decided on a couple of dishes that she could help prepare. And then outside of that, the family was bringing dishes and they also decided to order from the local grocery. So amongst all of those strategies, they would have a full meal and Shirley would feel like she was part of it, preparing her favorite dishes. But the planning had to go well beyond the kitchen because that's just a small part of the holidays, right? If we're thinking about Thanksgiving in the US, it's a lot about the meal, right? And doing things together. So, what she and Peter did this year is they got on a video call, a Zoom call with their adult kids to talk through what are the options. First, they started with brainstorming. Because if you remember from Shirley's story, decorating the tree at her and Peter's house happened at Thanksgiving when the adult kids and the grandkids are there. So, what they decided is that each grandchild would bring a box of new ornaments and they would bring, some of their very favorite old ornaments. They did this because they wanted to mix the tradition with fresh memories, reflecting how the family has grown and changed over the years, but also to make Shirley feel like she's not being left out. Before the family arrived, Shirley and her husband picked out some of her most treasured decorations, and she had them setting aside on a side table ready to decorate the tree. When they did decorate the tree, Shirley was right there. She used practiced phrases, things that she could easily say and bring up without someone having to help her. She was able to answer yes and no questions, which the family had gotten a lot better at asking just simple questions or giving her choices where she could easily give a response. So after Thanksgiving, after the meal and the dishes are cleaned and they are relaxing, then they go and decorate the tree. Each grandchild came over and shared their new box of ornaments with Shirley, and they told her why they were meaningful. Why did they pick a new color, a new shape, or whatever the variety was they brought over? And this turned into a special moment for Shirley to connect with that grandkid. It wasn't about hanging the ornaments, it was about being a part of something different, about sharing an experience. By the end of the day, the tree was filled with a combination of old memories and new beginnings. And for Shirley, after a successful meal, decorating the tree, her heart was full. She wasn't just sitting back, she was truly part of the celebration. This year wasn't about wishing for the old days to come back. It was about finding joy in where she is now, surrounded by love and progress. With planning, support, and definitely determination, the holidays became more meaningful for everyone. So let's talk about the steps that the family took to support Shirley. The first thing they did was they acknowledged that the last holiday celebration, that Shirley wasn't really a part of it. It was still relatively fresh, her stroke and aphasia, and they really were just in such a survival mode. They didn't think to plan ahead. But that all changed this time. So planning ahead, preparing weeks in advance, not spending a ton of time on it, but being very intentional about it, coordinating with the family on a Zoom call, getting everybody's input to figure out how to make adjustments for Shirley now, but also to carry over some traditions that were so meaningful for her, as well as for the family. And then Shirley got to practicing when she worked in speech therapy. She really focused on the holidays in a variety of ways, from saying names to using gestures to, if she needed someone to repeat, she used a gesture with her left hand that indicated she needed them to say it again. Or she could hold up her hand to ask them to slow down a little bit. She also got so much better at answering yes and no questions and being able to choose between two choices, whether it was a beverage or, did she want turkey or ham, those kinds of things. And then she also had a couple handfuls of phrases that she could initiate on her own. Those were very purposefully planned out with the help of Peter and her children, um, working in speech therapy on these phrases. And then Shirley kept in her pocket these phrases written out in a little bit larger print that she could easily read so that she could remind herself. So that was like self cueing. So, what was the impact on Shirley and the family? Think about the emotional and social benefits. With Shirley being able to actively participate in the planning and preparation, think about the joy she had, even more so anticipating the holidays, thinking about what her role could be, picking out her favorite dishes to cook with Peter, making sure Peter was doing all the details just right on the cooking, and that she could participate in the ways that were comfortable and that she felt confident in. They reimagined traditions. It wasn't about throwing out all the old traditions, it was about finding a blend of the old and the new. The ornaments tradition was a huge hit. Everybody felt really happy that they each had a role in it. The kids got to pick out their new ornaments, right? They and they got to build their own story about why they picked what they picked. And then finally, this is about strengthening family bonds, involving Shirley in decision making activities, decision making moments, helped her feel included and more purposeful. So, audience, I challenge you to reflect on your holiday traditions. Do you have a holiday tradition, something that you do at Thanksgiving? Or do you just kind of play it by ear and flex with whatever the day comes? How do you plan your meals? How do you plan the activities for the day? How do you decide who's coming to your house and when and what that timing looks like? Is it just willy nilly all over the place? Or is there a structure or a flow? What I would challenge you to do is grab a piece of paper and a pen and spend just a couple of minutes right after this episode ends. If you're home and you're able to do it, please don't try and do this while you're driving. Think about, what are your holiday traditions? How do you determine, if you're the family that's hosting, what the timing is, what the dishes are? Are you going to include other people? What do you do for games, activities, conversation? Do you decorate a tree on Thanksgiving? When you write all these things down, it's going to help you organize. It's going to help you start seeing patterns and how you plan. So many of us just have done it for so long that we have our ways of doing it, and we don't really stop and think about how or why we do things a certain way. But by making the holiday intentional, it can really reduce a lot of stress. Make sure you don't leave things out, and making sure that you figure out how to include your person with aphasia. So write down what your holiday traditions mean to you. What are the challenges that your person with aphasia has? Take a moment and think about, what are they good at? Are they able to answer yes no questions or make a choice between two items? Can they say what they want, what they need? Can they be a part of the conversation, or do they have just some word finding issues? Give some thought to the aphasia. What works? What doesn't work? Think about how you can make it different. This was Shirley's episode. But next time, next episode, we're going to catch up with Len and Alvin. We're going to review what their holidays were last time and what their holidays are this time, to paint the picture for you, give you, the family who has a loved one with aphasia, more ideas. And before you go, I'm super excited to share with you that the holiday edition of the Aphasia Inclusion Workbook is going to be available soon on Amazon. We've spent a lot of time and energy taking all these ideas and concepts and journaling and reflecting and putting them into a hands-on workbook that you can use when you have a person with aphasia. We go into all sorts of aspects of the holidays and things to think about. So it's not available yet, but it's coming very, very soon. It will be out before Thanksgiving hits in the US. Until next time, I want to wish each of you a wonderful week. Please start thinking about your holidays. They are going to be here before we know it. With a little planning and an open heart, your holidays can be a time of connection and joy for everyone. And for what my new friend Sarah says, may all your days be wonderful, not just one, but may all of them be wonderful. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.